You know that feeling when you're standing on a ridge, binoculars in hand, and a hawk suddenly darts across the sky just out of reach? I've been there a lot lately, and every time I pull out the cheap stuff I end up missing the detail that makes the moment special. That's why I wanted to sit down and walk you through whether the Leica APO Televid 65mm spotting scope body angled is the right tool for you before you drop a serious chunk of cash. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the hesitation that usually comes with a high-end spotting scope. The price tag alone makes most people wonder if they're really getting a noticeable upgrade over a decent binocular or a lower-priced scope. Then there's the fact that this Leica model is just the body. You still need to pair it with an eyepiece, a tripod, maybe a sunshade, and a set of accessories that can add up quickly. It's easy to imagine walking away feeling like you've overinvested in a piece of glass that you'll never actually use to its full potential. So who actually benefits from this kind of setup? If you're an avid birdwatcher who spends weekends tracking raptors, a field biologist who needs to document subtle plumage details, or a target shooter who relies on crystal-clear images for precise adjustments, the Leica APO Televid 65 offers a kind of optical fidelity that cheaper scopes simply can't match. The APO designation means Leica has engineered an apochromatic lens system that dramatically reduces chromatic aberration. In plain language, colors stay true and edges stay sharp even at the edges of the field, which is exactly what you need when you're trying to tell the difference between a juvenile and an adult warbler at 400 yards. On the flip side, if you're a casual nature enthusiast who only gets out a few times a year, you might be better off with a high-quality binocular or a more budget-friendly spotting scope that comes as a complete package. The extra cost of buying the necessary accessories for the Televid can easily push the total spend into the high three figures, and the learning curve of balancing a separate eyepiece and a heavy body on a tripod can be a turn-off for beginners. Let's dig into the practical strengths that actually matter when you're out in the field. The 65mm objective lens is a sweet spot for a spotting scope. It gathers enough light to keep the image bright during dawn or dusk, yet it doesn't become so large that the unit becomes unwieldy. In my own field tests, I found the image to stay surprisingly luminous even when the sky was just a thin pink. The angled body design is another real-world advantage. Instead of having to crane your neck up or down to line up a straight-through scope, the angled head lets you keep the body low and the eye level comfortable, which is a subtle but noticeable ergonomic win during long observation sessions. Another practical benefit is the modular nature of the Televid system. Because Leica sells the body separately from the eyepieces, you can swap in a 10mm eyepiece for ultra-high magnification when you need to examine a distant squirrel's tail, or a 20mm eyepiece for a wider field when you're scanning a meadow for moving deer. This flexibility is something you rarely get with a fixed magnification scope that forces you to compromise between field of view and detail. Now, let's be honest about the weaknesses. The first one is weight. The body alone is solidly built, which is great for durability, but it means you'll need a sturdy tripod that can handle at least 5 kilograms of load. That adds another line item to your budget and makes transport a bit more of a chore. I've found that packing the Leica with a carbon fiber tripod helps, but those aren't cheap either. Second, because Leica focuses on optical perfection, the price per millimeter of aperture is higher than many competitors. A 65mm Leica will often cost more than a 80mm scope from a less premium brand, so you really have to weigh whether you need Leica's color correction or if a slightly larger, cheaper scope would serve your purpose just fine. A third practical consideration is the availability of accessories. While Leica's ecosystem is well designed, the market for third-party adapters and sunshades isn't as deep as for more mainstream brands. If you ever want to mount a camera for field photography, you'll need to stick with Leica-approved solutions, which again can hike the overall spend. That isn't a deal-breaker for a purist who values seamless integration, but it's a hidden trade-off that many first-time buyers overlook. What does the value proposition look like when you put all of this together? Imagine you're on a migration watch in the Great Plains. You spot a flock of sandhill cranes and want to document the subtle variations in their plumage without disturbing them. The Leica's apochromatic lenses let you see the exact hue of each feather, while the angled head lets you keep the scope low and your body stable on a portable tripod.